This is the Business Leadership Series Minute with your host and best-selling author of Don't Buy a Duck, Derek Champagne.
We're talking with Bix and Joe. Bix, when you go into the companies with a customized plan, do you find that there's a belief in the leadership that needs to change? Do you find that there are some commonalities within the teams or the leadership that you can identify when you go in?
The good news and the bad news is that we're all human beings.
Right.
And the thing about being human is that for the most part, when we go to think about what we want to have happen, what results we need, what is our performance we need, what's the future, for the most part, where we go to look for that is in the past. We don't get up in the morning and say to ourselves, well, today I'm going to look in the past to find out about the future. But for the most part, it's the difference between what we call urgency and an emergency. So you've seen many times that something happens in an emergency where afterwards people are described as heroic. You know, they ran into a burning car and they pulled somebody out and they picked something up that was 3 times their weight and they pulled somebody else out. And then afterwards, they're called, wow, what a hero. Well, if we ask that person in the morning, hey, listen, just want to let you know on your way to work today, there's going to be this terrible accident. And we're asking you to jump out of your car, run into a burning car, drag somebody out, pick up something that's 3 times your weight and pull that person out. Will you do that? And people will say, no. And we'll say, why? Well, I'm too weak. I can't pick up something 3 times my weight. I'm scared of fires. I would never do that. And yet time and again, we've either experienced it or we read about people doing that. Why? Because for the most part, when we go to find out what we can and cannot do, when we go to find out what our companies can and cannot do, we look into the past. Oh, I'm too weak, I'm scared of fires, that's too much for me, to find out about the future, unknowingly. This is like just what it is to be human. And yet, in the face of the emergency, people acted what's later described as heroically. Why? Because rather than acting from their story about themselves, I'm weak, I'm scared of fires, that's too overwhelming, they acted out of what is happening. And what is happening is there really was somebody that was in an emergency that needed help. You saw that and you acted out of it. So that's called waiting for something outside of you or your company to determine you.
To hear full episodes of the Business Leadership Series, visit blsnow.net.